Hi, my name is Madeline Harper. I'm 28, and I work as a marketing strategist for a tech company in Chicago. Ever since college, I've been known for my meticulous planning and perfectionist tendencies. I thrive under pressure, or at least I thought I did. Today should have been the pinnacle of my career, presenting a groundbreaking proposal to our biggest client. I had spent weeks preparing, practicing every slide, and memorizing every statistic. My laptop was my lifeline, my digital canvas of months of effort. But when I opened my folder right before stepping onto the stage, my heart sank. The files weren't mine. My meticulously prepared slides had been replaced with nonsense, random images, irrelevant charts, even memes. My jaw dropped. Panic clawed at me as I realized who could have done this. And then I saw her, standing at the back of the room, smirking. My sister Brianna Harper. She was laughing, the sound cutting through me like a knife. I felt frozen, humiliated, and most painfully betrayed. Every ounce of confidence I had evaporated. I wanted to scream, to run, to grab my laptop and fix it, but it was too late. The room was filling with clients and colleagues, all looking at me, expecting brilliance. And instead, I had chaos. My mind raced. How could she do this? Why would she do this? It wasn't just about the presentation anymore. This was the culmination of every petty rivalry, every stolen opportunity, every laugh at my expense. This wasn't just embarrassment, it was a breaking point. Growing up, my life was always a series of comparisons. My sister, Brianna, was effortlessly charismatic. Teachers adored her, friends gravitated toward her, and somehow, she always seemed to get everything she wanted. Meanwhile, I, Madeline Harper, was the quiet, studious one, always trying to meet expectations that seemed to shift depending on who was watching. Mom, Vanessa Harper, had a sharp tongue and a critical eye. She never meant to be cruel, but her favoritism toward Brianna was impossible to ignore. Every compliment she gave Brianna stung me, as if I were invisible. Dad, Gregory Harper, was distant, buried in his work and traveling for his job. He never intentionally hurt me, but his absence left a void that Brianna seemed to fill effortlessly. Even in small things, the patterns repeated. Birthday parties, school performances, family vacations. Brianna always stole the spotlight. And I learned early that my achievements, no matter how significant, would often go unnoticed. We fought, of course. Sibling rivalry was a daily ritual. But Brianna had a knack for pushing the limits without getting caught. She'd hide my favorite things, spread little lies about me, or laugh when I tripped over her pranks, leaving me red-faced. And our parents? Often too busy or too blind to intervene. I tried to tell myself that it was normal sibling behavior. But deep down, I felt an invisible weight on my shoulders, the need to prove myself constantly, to outshine my sister in ways she couldn't anticipate. And now, standing in that conference room, watching her laugh at the destruction of my hard work, it all clicked. The seed of rivalry planted in childhood had grown into a tree of betrayal. It wasn't just a presentation she had sabotaged. It was every ounce of effort, every late night, every sacrifice I had made to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be valued. And in that moment, I realized nothing had changed. Some things, it seemed, were destined to repeat. In the weeks leading up to this conference, I poured everything I had into perfecting my presentation. Nights blurred into mornings as I fine-tuned slides, rehearsed my speech, and cross-checked every statistic. I skipped dinners, canceled plans with friends, and even postponed a family brunch just to make sure every detail was flawless. I told myself it was worth it, that finally, my hard work would be recognized. Maybe, just maybe, my parents would see my dedication and feel proud, even if just a little. Brianna, of course, had her own busy schedule. She always did. But I couldn't shake the nagging worry that she would somehow interfere. And as it turned out, my instincts were right. A few days before the presentation, I had noticed subtle hints, files slightly out of place, a mischievous glance from Brianna when I mentioned the conference. I brushed it off, thinking I was overreacting. But now, staring at the jumbled mess on my laptop, I realized how wrong I had been. I thought of every sacrifice I had made, the extra hours at work while she went out with friends, the weekends I spent refining charts instead of visiting family, the mental and emotional energy I poured into something she would now mock. It all seemed for nothing. My sister didn't just undermine me, she delighted in it. And as I watched her stand there, smirking and whispering to Mom and Dad, I felt a strange combination of anger and disbelief. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I gave, it was never enough. She thrived on chaos, I thrived on structure. And in her mind, perhaps, my downfall was just another form of entertainment. The tension built like a storm inside me. My hands shook, my heart raced, and yet I had to step onto that stage. Every eye in the room was on me, expecting poise, expecting expertise. And all I could think was, this isn't fair. This isn't right. How could she do this to me? The moment I walked into the conference hall, the weight of the sabotage hit me like a punch. Colleagues leaned in with expectant smiles, and the client's gaze held polite anticipation. I took a deep breath and opened my laptop, praying for a miracle. Instead, the screen displayed a chaotic jumble. Cartoon images, memes, nonsensical graphs, and slides that made no sense whatsoever. The room went silent for a second, then a few stifled laughs. My face burned with humiliation. I glanced at Brianna, who was now openly laughing, whispering something to our mother, Vanessa, who merely smiled indulgently. I wanted to scream. Why would you do this? I wanted to grab her, shake her, make her understand the pain she caused. But I knew nothing would reach her. Brianna thrived on moments like this. She craved the chaos, the reaction, the control. The client's expression shifted from curiosity to confusion. My colleagues whispered behind cupped hands, and I felt a dizzying mixture of shame and rage. I realized, in that moment, that my sister had crossed a line that couldn't be undone by apologies or explanations. I shut the laptop abruptly, heart pounding. The room seemed to tilt around me. Every humiliation from my childhood, the stolen opportunities, the laughs at my expense, the invisible comparisons, flashed through my mind. Brianna's laughter became deafening. And then I did the only thing I could. I turned on my heel, stormed out of the hall, and felt the slam of the door behind me echo in my chest. In that sound, I felt the fracture. This was more than just a presentation gone wrong. This was the breaking point of everything I had tried to endure for years. That night, after locking myself in my small apartment, I stared at the chaos of my thoughts and realized something terrifying and liberating. I didn't just feel betrayed by my sister. I felt trapped by my entire family dynamic. The patterns, the favoritism, the constant undermining, it was all suffocating me. I made a decision that would change everything. I needed to disappear. Not in the literal sense, but enough to reclaim my life. I sold the small belongings I had accumulated over the years, closed my Chicago apartment, and quit my job. I refused to let anyone, Brianna, Mom, Dad, dictate my worth any longer. I moved to Asheville, North Carolina, a city I had only visited once but instantly felt at home. The pace was slower, the air felt clearer, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel the weight of comparison pressing down on me. I found a small job at a boutique marketing firm, where my talent was noticed and appreciated, and I started building connections with people who genuinely supported me. The first few weeks were hard. I questioned myself constantly. Am I overreacting? Am I running away? But each small victory, an accomplished project, a kind word from a colleague, a new friend's laughter, reminded me that I was capable of more than I had realized. Slowly, the humiliation of that conference faded from immediate memory, replaced by a growing sense of self-worth. I also started therapy, unpacking years of subtle sibling rivalry, parental favoritism, and self-doubt. I realized that my life didn't have to be dictated by Brianna's desire to dominate or my parents' approval. I was allowed to prioritize myself, to seek happiness, and to define my own success. By the time 6 months had passed, I could look back on that ruined presentation without bitterness, only as the moment that forced me to take control. I wasn't hiding. I was reclaiming my life. And in that reclamation, I found strength, confidence, and a freedom I hadn't known existed before. Just when I thought I had finally built some peace, the messages started. At first, they were subtle. A text from Brianna saying, "I didn't mean to ruin your presentation. Hope you're okay." It was brief, lukewarm, and felt hollow. I didn't respond. Then came Mom's attempts, calls at odd hours, leaving voicemails dripping with guilt-tripping tones. "We miss you. Don't you want to be with your family? We just want you back." My father, Gregory, sent a few business-related emails, subtly implying I was abandoning opportunities that could benefit the family. They tried manipulative tactics too. A fake health scare, Mom saying she wasn't feeling well, prompted a pang of worry I hadn't anticipated. Brianna sent a half-hearted apology via email, yet the underlying smugness in her words was clear. It was the same pattern from childhood, attempts to pull me back without acknowledging their own role in the years of tension. I felt my old self, the anxious, eager to please Madeline, trying to emerge, but I quickly shut that part down. I had grown stronger since leaving Chicago. I had built a life that was mine, and no guilt or manipulation would make me abandon it. For the first time, I fully realized that I could choose my own boundaries. I could love from a distance without giving in. My family's attempts to pull me back only reaffirmed that leaving was the right choice. I was no longer a child trapped in patterns of comparison. I was an adult shaping her own path. I started setting clear boundaries, blocking certain calls, limiting interactions, and prioritizing the relationships that were healthy and reciprocal. Every refusal to engage with their manipulation strengthened my sense of self and reinforced my belief that leaving wasn't just about escape. It was about survival and growth. Looking back now, years later, I can see that the conference disaster and my sister's laughter was the catalyst I needed. Leaving wasn't just about escaping humiliation. It was about reclaiming my life and my dignity. I rebuilt myself in Asheville, surrounded by people who supported and valued me, and I finally understood what it meant to prioritize my own well-being. I've realized that leaving toxic patterns behind is not an act of selfishness, it's survival. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you hate your family. It means you love yourself enough to set boundaries and protect your peace. Family isn't defined only by blood, but by love, respect, and support. And sometimes the people you are related to most are the ones who teach you the hardest lessons, but those lessons can also be the ones that make you strongest. Now, whenever I think of Brianna, I no longer feel humiliation or anger. I feel clarity. I know who I am, what I deserve, and how far I've come. My life isn't dictated by her pranks, Mom's criticism, or Dad's indifference. My life is mine, and I've learned that sometimes stepping away is the bravest and most necessary thing you can do. I've learned that empowerment comes from choosing yourself, not waiting for validation from others. And that lesson, though born from betrayal and pain, is one I carry proudly every single day.